Good morning everyone. This is Dr. Sasikant Yadav and this is first lecture of heat transfer. So in this is a introductory lecture in which we will discuss about the basic of heat transfer. In that we have studied what is heat, what are heat transfer, what are different mode of heat transfer. So without wasting any further time, let's begin. So heat is one form of energy. So energy is defined as the ability or capacity to do work on some form of matter. Heat energy, or we also call them thermal energy, is the kinetic energy due to motion of atoms and molecules. It is energy that is in the process of being transferred from one object to another object because of their temperature difference. So this is one form of energy out of many other forms. For example, kinetic energy, potential energy, internal energy, radiant energy, mechanical energy, chemical energy, and so on and so forth. So heat energy, or we also call them thermal energy, is created by movement of particle that produce heat. So when we supply energy, so when we increase temperature, so due to increase in temperature, the movement in the molecule or atom also increase, so it will also increase heat energy. So physical process by which thermal energy is exchanged between material body or inside the same body as a result of temperature difference. So the driving force for heat transfer is temperature difference. And second thing is that we cannot directly measure heat transfer, but we can measure the effect produced by it. For example, the temperature difference. So here we cannot directly measure the heat transfer, but we actually measure the temperature difference, and with the help of temperature difference we can measure the amount of heat transfer in the process. In the heat transfer subject, we mainly study the mechanism and rate of heat transfer. That rate of heat transfer is very important. For example, if we are designing a thermos bottle, then the amount of heat transfer is important, but the rate at which heat transfer is also equally important. Because while designing a thermos bottle, our main objective is to reduce the rate of heat transfer. This heat transfer takes place only when two objects are at different temperature. So here in this example you can see we have a hot coffee which is maintained at 70 degrees centigrade, and the environmental temperature is maintained at 20 degrees centigrade. So we have temperature difference, so heat will transfer, because as I told you earlier that heat transfer occurs only when there is a temperature difference. Now we have a temperature difference of 70 degree minus 20 degree, that is 50 degree centigrade. So due to this temperature difference, heat will transfer. Second thing is that the heat is always transfer from a warmer body to a cooler body, or heat is transfer from a energy source to a high temperature energy source to low temperature energy source. For example, in the same example, the tea is maintained at 70 degree centigrade and environment temperature is 20 degree centigrade. So heat will transfer from high temperature source to a low temperature source. So heat will transfer from the hot coffee to the cold coffee. And this type of process we also study in thermodynamics, like in thermodynamics we also study the amount of heat energy required to transfer when system change from one phase to the another phase. But it as far as first law of thermodynamics is concerned, it does not tell us about the direction of heat flow. It only tell us about the energy balance, but it does not tell us about in which direction energy will transfer and at what rate energy will transfer. For example, if heat is transfer from cool environment to the hot coffee, and then this hot coffee will become more hotter. That process, if we apply energy balance, then that process is feasible, but in actual this process is not feasible, because we know the energy transfer occur only from a high temperature source to a low temperature source. So in that way heat transfer is very important. In heat transfer we can find out the direction of heat transfer as well as the rate at which heat transfer occurs. And these are some of day-to-day life example of heat transfer. Like in case of electric circuit, we have to calculate the rate of heat transfer to maintain the temperature of electronic circuit below, means in permissible limit. Other examples are like air conditioning, carburetor in vehicles, refrigerator, human body, power plant or some chemical plant. Because this course is mainly concerned with chemical engineering, so if I give example of chemical engineering, then there are several equipments like distillation column, evaporator, crystallizer, heat exchanger, etc. In that we have to we have to use heat transfer to calculate the energy balance or energy requirement in the system. So as far we know, heat is one kind of energy that is transfer from a high energy temperature source to low temperature source, and it is also important to find out the rate at which heat is transferred. Now there are mainly three modes for heat transfer. One is conduction, convection and radiation. In conduction, thermal energy is transferred by the direct contact of molecule, not by the movement of the material. On the other hand, in convection, the energy transfer takes place due to actual movement of the fluid. When fluid move from one location to another location, it also carries some amount of energy. So energy transfer due to bulk movement of the fluid is by the mode of convection. And in radiation, the energy transfer due to thermal radiation. uh, every body which is above 0 Kelvin temperature emit thermal radiation, so energy transfer due to these thermal radiations are called radiation energy. In most of the engineering problem or in most of the day-to-day life problem, the heat transfer takes place by more than one mode simultaneously. So such kind of heat transfer problem are called multi-mode heat transfer. As you can see in this example, we have a burning wood, and if we place a iron rod, then the iron ore get heated up at one corner, but eventually it transfer heat through conduction and we get high temperature at the other end. On the other hand, in convection, the air get heat up, which come in contact with fire, and then there is upward movement of the air which cause convective heat transfer, and these hot fire also emit radiative energy which cause radiative heat transfer. Now we will discuss these three mode of heat transfer one by one. So first of all we start with conduction. So the conduction heat transfer, the flow of heat from one part of a body to another or from one body to another without appreciable displacement of the particle. So there is no appreciable displacement of the particle, but the energy transfer only due to vibration of the molecule or due to movement of free electrons. Because this heat transfer takes place on molecular level, so sometimes we also call them molecular heat transfer. This conduction can occur in all three phases, that is solid, liquid and gas. In case of fluid, that is in case of gas or liquid, the conduction occur due to molecular collision and molecular diffusion. But on the other hand, in case of solid, the conduction occur due to lattice vibration and flow of free electron. So if we consider lattice vibration, so if we have well structured crystalline substance, that will have good heat transfer rate, or their thermal conductivity will be very high uh, due to easy lattice vibration. So if we have two different material, one is pure, another one is impure, then the pure material will have high thermal conductivity because of easy lattice vibration. Second reason is flow free electron. If you can see, most of the metal have high thermal conductivity, because we know in metals we have large amount of free electrons. So metals normally have high thermal conductivity due to movement of these free electrons. The conductive heat transfer rate can be measured with the help of Fourier law of heat conduction. This is explained by with the help of this problem. So let us assume we have a wall which is maintained at temperature T1, and other end of the wall is maintained at temperature T2. The thickness of the wall is delta x, and the effective surface area for heat transfer is A. So if we apply Fourier law of heat conduction in this problem, then this Q conduction will be equal to minus Ka dt by dx. Because here we have T1 at high temperature and T2 at low temperature. As I told you earlier, heat is transferred from high energy source, temperature source, to low temperature source. So heat will transfer in this direction. And we have to calculate the rate at which this heat transfer takes place. So this heat transfer rate is directly proportional to temperature gradient. It means T1 minus T2. So as you can see in this equation, Q is equal to minus Ka dt by dx. Here K is thermal conductivity, A is area, dt is temperature difference, that is T1 minus T2, and dx is thickness of this wall through which heat is transferring. If we plot temperature versus this thickness graph, that is temperature versus x graph, then the slope of the graph will be dt by dx. So dt by dx we can say is temperature gradient. So as you can see, T1 is greater than T2, so this dt will be a negative quantity, and this temperature gradient will be a negative quantity. So to compensate that factor, we have to multiply this equation by negative sign to make this quantity overall positive. So this is Fourier law of heat conduction to calculate heat transfer due to conduction. Now these are some of the examples of various material which having different thermal conductivity at room temperature. So you can see the thermal conductivity of gases are very low, because in fluids the heat transfer occur mainly due to convection, and their thermal conductivity is very small. Then the thermal conductivity of insulator, then liquid, then non-metallic solid like oxide, rock, food, rubber, etc. Then metal alloy, and after that pure metal. As I told you earlier, when there is impurity in a metal, then the Eg vibration in their lattice decrease, so the thermal conductivity will also increase. On the other hand, if you can see example of diamond, so diamond are has very high thermal conductivity, and they are normally used in sophisticated electronic equipment for heat transfer because they have very high thermal conductivity. The reason for high thermal conductivity is that they are well structured, so the vibration in their lattice are very easy. So because of that reason, they have high thermal conductivity. All the material which either have high number of free electron or they are well structured have high thermal conductivity. Again, in this table you can see the thermal conductivity of copper is 401 and nickel is 91 watt per meter per degree Kelvin. And on the other hand, the alloy of copper or copper and nickel have much lesser thermal conductivity compared to both copper as well as nickel. Our first prediction is that their thermal conductivity should lie between thermal conductivity of copper and nickel, that is between 91 and 401, but in actual the thermal conductivity value is 23. So as I told you earlier, when we compare thermal conductivity of pure substance and impure substance, then the thermal conductivity of pure substance is higher due to their well structured lattice structure. So here alloy are similar to impure substance, so they have less thermal conductivity as compared to pure copper as well as nickel. The other example is copper and aluminum, both have high thermal conductivity of 401 and 237 respectively, but their alloy having much lesser thermal conductivity of only 52 watt per meter per degree centigrade. This thermal conductivity mm, is a property of material, and it also its value also affected by the temperature. In most of the fluid, which include both gases as well as liquid, the thermal conductivity increase with increase in temperature. As you can see in this graph, the thermal value of thermal conductivity are increasing while increasing the temperature, because in this graph in the y-axis we have thermal conductivity and in the x-axis we have temperature. So you can see when temperature increases, the value of thermal conductivity in case of liquid and gases also increases. But there are some exceptions. For example, in case of water, the thermal conductivity first increase reach to a maximum value and then start declining. On the other hand, in case of carbon tetrachloride, the thermal conductivity decreases with increase in temperature. On the other hand, in case of solid, the thermal conductivity of the solid decrease with increase in temperature. As you can see in this graph, the value of thermal conductivity decreases with increase in temperature. But here again we have some exceptions, like in case of clear fused quartz, the thermal conductivity actually increase with increase in temperature. So if we neglect some exceptions, we can say thermal conductivity of fluid increase with an increase in temperature, and on the other hand thermal conductivity of solid decrease with an increase in temperature. This is also explained in this table. You can see the thermal conductivity of copper decrease from 482 to 366 when temperature increase from 100 Kelvin to 800 Kelvin. Similarly, in case of aluminium, the thermal conductivity at 100 Kelvin is 302, but when we increase temperature to 800 degrees centigrade, its thermal conductivity decreased to 218. Now the second mode of heat transfer is by convection. So in convection, the heat transfer occur due to actual movement of the fluid. So when a fluid move, that fluid may be a gas or a liquid. So when a fluid move from one location to another location, that fluid also carries some amount of energy. So when any this bulk movement of mass takes place, that mass also carries some form of energy. So energy transfer due to the bulk movement of the fluid is called convective heat transfer. That can be due to natural convection and forced convection. So when the motion of the fluid arises only from the density difference associated with the temperature field is known as natural convection. On the other hand, when the fluid motion arises artificially by an agitator or pump, we call them forced convection. That is explained with the help of this diagram. For example, we have a hot egg, and when cold air come in contact with this hot egg, they get heat up and their density decrease, and they become lighter. So they move in upward direction. So the space vacated by hot air is gained by some more cold air. So there is a natural circulation of air. So this type of heat transfer occur due to natural convection. So because the movement of the air takes place due to natural phenomena. On the other hand, in force convection we apply some external force. For example, in this case we apply some external fan which allow fluid to forcibly move from one location to another location. So that type of force movement and that type of heat transfer due to force due to some external force is called force convection. This convective heat transfer is explained by Newton law of cooling. So Newton law of cooling states that the Q is equal to HCA TW minus T infinity. Here Q is the amount of heat transfer due to convection, and this H is convective heat transfer rate, H is A is effective area for heat transfer, and TW is the temperature of hot body, and T infinity is temperature of cold body. Means that heat is transferring between two objects. One is maintained at TW, another one is at T infinity. That can be anything, like if we have an hot egg and it is releasing heat in the environment, so environmental temperature will be T infinity. So we can say Newton law of cooling state that the rate of heat loss of a body is proportional to the temperature difference between the body and its surrounding. These are some typical value of convective heat transfer coefficient. So you can see the convective heat transfer coefficient in case of for free convection of gases, its value uh, its typical range is 2 to 25 watt per meter square per degree centigrade. And other ranges include like free convection of liquid, force convection of gases, force convection of liquid, and boiling and condensation. In boiling and condensation, there is a large amount of agitations in the fluid, so in that case we get very high value of heat transfer coefficient. The third phenomena is heat transfer by radiation. Radiation allow heat to be transferred through wave energy. These waves are called electromagnetic wave because the energy travel in a combination of electric and magnetic wave. This energy is released when these waves are absorbed by an object. For example, energy traveling from the sun to your skin. So you can feel your skin getting warmer as energy is absorbed. Another thing is that the energy is a wave carry is related to its wavelength. So shorter wavelength carry more energy than longer wavelength, and these are some unit conversion of different wavelength. So, as I told you earlier, the heat transfer occur uh, due to thermal radiation. So, any body which is maintained above 0 Kelvin temperature emit thermal radiation. So, uh, anybody means anybody means everything which is maintained at above 0 Kelvin emit some thermal radiation. And this thermal radiation does not require a medium for transmission. In case of conduction and convection, we require some medium for heat transfer. On the other hand, in case of radiation heat transfer, we does not require any medium, and actually it is more effective in vacuum. Thermal radiation propagate with the speed of light in a straight line in vacuum. Its speed decreases in a medium, but it travel in a straight line in homogeneous medium. And the intensity of the radiation is temperature dependent. The intensity of radiation increases with rising temperature because a rise in temperature is accompanied by an increase in its internal energy of the substance. And the last one is that the radiation depends considerably more on temperature than the process of heat, conduction, and convection. It means the radiation energy is more temperature dependent, or the radiation energy is more temperature sensitive. In radiative heat transfer, there are several process like uh, the radiation absorbed, reflected, scattered, transmitted. We will discuss all these phenomena in detail in our subsequent classes. The radiative heat transfer rate can be studied with the help of Stefan Boltzmann law. This Stefan Boltzmann law states that this QR equal to epsilon sigma A into Ts raised to power minus T surrounding power 4. Here QR is rate of radiative heat transfer, and this epsilon is emissivity of the surface. It is a surface phenomena. This A is effective area through which the heat transfer takes place, and Ts is the temperature of hot body, and T surrounding is temperature of the cooler body. This sigma is called Stefan Boltzmann constant, and its value is equal to 5.67 into 10 to the power minus 8 watt per meter square per Kelvin power 4. So as you can see in this equation, the radiative heat transfer depends on temperature with the power 4. So here temperature power is 4. It means the radiative heat transfer is more temperature sensitive as compared to conduction and convection, because in case of conduction and convection the temperature dependency is temperature raised to power 1 only, but here we have temperature raised to power 4. It means the radiative heat transfer is more temperature sensitive as compared to both conduction and convection. These are some of the example of emissivity of different material and 300 Kelvin. So this is end of today lecture. If you have any question or query, you can write in the chat box. Thank you.